Mike, Councillor Mike, and ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues on City Council as well, thank you, Mike, for those words of introduction. And I'm very glad that Josh Cole and Anna Bailau could be here, as well as all of the colleagues from elected office. We were standing together as recently as Saturday to inaugurate the 514 streetcar line, and I said then and I repeat today, I think this is what people expect us to be doing. We're not out just talking about public transportation. We're out actually inaugurating new services, announcing things that are going to happen, and cooperating together, most importantly. And I think that cooperation has been extremely well received by the people that we all serve. And I include in that, of course, our provincial partners and our federal partners. Adam Vaughan is here today and has so often been with us. We were yesterday together announcing some much-needed additional employment for young people in the northwest corner of the city. I feel like I'm with Minister Del Duca a couple of times a week announcing various things, and I just want to say to the governments of Ontario and the Government of Canada, thank you for partnering with Toronto to get some things done. I think it is something that people take great heart from. They certainly know of the need. I too have been here in Liberty Village before I was even elected mayor, long before I was elected mayor, sitting as head of civic action with groups who would tell me that, for example, they'd have to come in from some part of the 905, go to Union Station, and then take another train to get back out here. Or that they would sometimes take a half an hour to get in or out of here in a car if they were driving a car. And all of this has to be, we have to fix it. And we're in the process of fixing it. And this is a significant step forward together with all the things that Mike Layton mentioned. SmartTrack itself was developed from a very simple fact. There are major transportation corridors, in this case rail, that run through the City of Toronto that were not being used to as great an extent as possible to help move local residents around. The train track you see behind us runs through Toronto from Etobicoke through the west end of the city and into the downtown core. And it has for a long time carried residents of Kitchener and Guelph and Georgetown and Brampton to Union Station, and we're glad of that fact. That makes an important contribution to employment and to our economy here in Toronto. That's historically been important. It's been a well-run service and very important to the City of Toronto. But that very same rail corridor, up until now, has not really been considered part of Toronto's commuter system or a way for our residents to get downtown, or, as we've pointed out from the genesis of SmartTrack, to get from downtown, where increasing numbers of people want to live, to places like the Mississauga Airport Corporate Centre or places in between, including Liberty Village, where they might choose to work. SmartTrack and the expansion of the province's regional express rail network will change all of that. Now, this rail corridor, along with the Stouffville line in the east, will be a vital part of Toronto's transportation network. With 6 new stations, the SmartTrack network will have 15 stops on the rail corridors in Toronto, as well as up to 12 stops along the Eglinton West LRT extension. With all-day two-way service, stations here at Liberty Village and St. Clair West and Mount Dennis and Bloor will provide local service to the people of Toronto's West End neighbourhoods. A study by the University of Toronto's Transportation Research Institute earlier this year found that SmartTrack has the potential to carry more than 300,000 people every day. Already with the UP Express, we've seen that Toronto residents will take this kind of a train when it is affordable. And the people of Toronto want that choice, and they want that convenience. They have said that loud and clear, both before, during, and after the time of the election, when transit was so much a part of the discussion, and SmartTrack in particular. SmartTrack takes the concept of local travel to a whole new level. For Liberty Village, a SmartTrack station will help to further unlock the potential of a vibrant and growing neighborhood. I have heard from so many people in this neighborhood up to the present time who've told me about the frustration they face in trying to get to work or to get to enjoy some of the amenities that Mike referred to, or to get home. They've told me about waiting for the streetcars. They've told me about the different experiences they have getting to and from this area, and they deserve more options. And they're going to get one more significant one now, with more to come. SmartTrack, as Mike said, will allow them to get to Union Station in a very small number of minutes. And it will provide an affordable option to residents of South Parkdale and help improve social equity in our city. And it will join, as Mike said, a network of cycling, pedestrian and transit enhancements that are designed to dramatically improve mobility and convenience and safety in this area and across Toronto, with more to come. Likewise, the station at St. Clair West will serve a growing neighbourhood around the stockyards, where more and more people are going to work and to live and to shop. It will serve 3 neighborhood improvement areas, provide transit access to disadvantaged residents of Winston, Pelham Park, and Rockcliffe Smythe. SmartTrack is about connecting people to opportunity. It is about getting Toronto residents where they're going on the rail corridors that already run through the City of Toronto and were, up until this investment that we're all making together, underutilized. There is no digging or tunneling or endless construction, just new and improved service where it is needed the most. And so I want to again say thank you to Premier Kathleen Wynne, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, to the ministers who've been so helpful to us, and MPs like Adam Vaughan, who's been helpful, and to my colleagues, people like Mike Layton, who has, in the case of this neighborhood, been fighting for some time for something that we're one step closer to bringing to fruition today. I think that this collaboration between and among governments and residents and businesses is going to introduce a bright new day for Toronto commuters. 25 years from today, I don't think anybody will be debating the decision I know we're going to take to move ahead with SmartTrack. I don't think they're going to be debating any of the transit extensions that we're discussing today. They will say, thank goodness that these governments got together and did something to make sure that not just today, but that 25 years from today, this is a healthy, vibrant city. I want to just close by as well saying thank you to the Liberty Village community. They have spoken up loud and clear, the businesses have, the residents have, to say that they needed better. We've been working on things along King Street. There's probably more improvements we can make there. We're moving ahead with this station and with improvements to the rail transportation, but we recognize the fact that we probably got some of this in the wrong order by having all the development take place, as exciting as it is and as good a sign as it is of confidence in our city, without first getting the transit right. But you learn lessons from these things, and we're now going to set about remedying that. So on that note, I will open it up to questions for any of us that...
Mr. Mayor, another defining aspect of the project was that it would be along the Kitchener and Stouffville goal lines. It looks like 2 of these stations would be on the Barrie line, correct? So, okay. Yeah. Are you considering those part of SmartTrack as well? Or?
No, they're not. I mean, they are... They're being announced today because the decisions were taken more by Metrolinx in the latter case of those 2 stations, but those have been discussions that have been ongoing between myself and the Minister and Metrolinx and the City for a long time, and really just fit within the overall theme of today's announcement, which is taking the rail networks, the regional rail networks which exist and are part of Regional Express Rail, and making sure that as much as we possibly can, we use those to serve neighborhoods. So the Davenport and St. Clair stations were really just included in today, but I'm not claiming they were part of SmartTrack. They never were. They're on a different GO train line, but it was just the Spadina and Davenport were just deemed appropriate to announce today because it's good news for Toronto commuters.
What will the difference? Will there be a difference in service?
I can't really answer that question because that would involve me knowing exactly what the service is going to be. Maybe the Minister would like to address that.
It's hard for me to hear, Ben, but I think you were talking about the Barrie corridor. Yeah. So as part of Regional Express Rail, the Barrie corridor will be in its totality electrified from Union Station to Barrie. And when we announced Regional Express Rail in April of last year, we talked about running electrified trains for the entire length, and from Union Station up to Aurora, running the trains at 15-minute intervals. And the trains will go in both directions. So the 2 stations that we're announcing today on the Barrie corridor would be serviced by the Regional Express Rail plan.
And would the service at those 2 stations be any different from the service that was connected to SmartTrack stations?
So again, to sort of echo what the Mayor said, there is still work that's ongoing between Metrolinx and the City with respect to exactly what the service concepts will look like. I know that over the next number of days, I think there's going to be tons of transit information for everybody to consume, and I look forward to more discussions about that. But today's great news, we included the Barrie corridor stations because I'm here today to talk about more transit options in all of West End Toronto. And again, I just want to salute my colleagues who've worked very hard to make today's announcement a reality.
I just want to clarify, though, I understand that work is still done on the service options. I'm pretty sure I understand this correctly, but there is no additional SmartTrack service. SmartTrack is the RER trains that are coming down these lines, and that is, people get on, and that's SmartTrack. There is no extra service on top of RER.
I think that the ministers and my answer point out that the service levels, to answer Ben's question, are quite likely to be different. And that is, you heard the minister say the Barrie line, that the objective there is to have service every 15 minutes. The business cases you'll see revealed in the studies that are coming out from the City in the next couple of days talk about 7 to 10 minutes. That is a difference in terms of the headway. And exactly which trains they are, I mean, I'm not going to speak to that. There may be different kinds of trains running on the same tracks as a SmartTrack service. But the bottom line is that the business cases you're going to see talk about service headway 7 to 10 minutes. You just heard the minister say on the Barrie line it's 15 minutes. We've talked about the fact that there are some additional stations that are being added as part of the SmartTrack vision. We've talked about the fare integration work that is going on, which has as an objective to have a TTC fare for people using this service, and we're working very hard on that. And so I will stand here in utterly clear conscience and utterly confident of the fact that the SmartTrack lines on Kitchener and Stouffville are going to be different in a number of respects than will the service on some of the other regional express lines. But it has always been built on top of the foundation of regional express rail and the generous investment being made by the governments in the other governments in that service.
A couple more questions.
For new stations, and is the city paying?
Well, the cost is going to be part of the cost vis-a-vis those stations that are a part of the SmartTrack project will be borne as part of the cost of the SmartTrack project. And as you know, we've had very generous commitments made by the Government of Canada and the Government of Ontario to the cost of the SmartTrack project. The city has to contribute its share, and that's one of the conditions the minister mentioned, obviously, that are part of today's announcement. And suffice it to say that none of that has changed. Our obligations in that regard hasn't changed, and that's work that we have to do, obviously, between now and the end of the year to get all of those details finalized.
Question for the minister. You alluded to it in your remarks, Minister. It says here in the press release, this is subject to funding availability, environmental assessment processes, further planning, engineering work, and design work. So what's actually solid about this announcement today? Is it just the political will? And if that's the case, how can we be certain it will actually get built?
So I think it's important to remember that we all of those requirements that you talked about that are included in the background information or the news release are the same kind of requirements that we require for every significant transit and infrastructure project that we're undertaking. This is not any different from any of the others. I think everybody who lives in this region who covers transit would know by now that a lot of that work, detailed design, environmental assessment processes are always required when we proceed with a desire to build out much needed transit. I think we wanted to be in a position today to make sure that the communities like the one that we're standing in here today in Liberty Village and those across the west end of Toronto that have long been calling for more options and for more access to higher order transit can understand that all three levels of government are working very closely together to actually deliver on the commitment that we've made. And I think it's also important because over the last couple of years I've talked about the need for us to continue to demonstrate regular progress on the transit file. Having lived here in the GTHA my whole life, I know that occasionally there's a bit of skepticism about whether or not we're getting things right. We are right now because of the fact that we have alignment between all three levels of government and because we have leaders in the Premier and the Prime Minister and in the Mayor who understand the importance of getting shovels in the ground. We can't get shovels in the ground without doing that important work you referenced a second ago, but we're here today to declare that we are building new stations for in my announcement today and that we'll have more updates in the coming days as well.
And I think it's important to note all of that work, without exception, is underway. I mean, there is construction work happening. I point this out all the time. There's construction work happening today in the northeast part of the city to double track some of the train lines there that are part of the Regional Express Rail SmartTrack service. There are things happening, but some of the things that had to get done once the SmartTrack concept was not only envisioned but supported were some of these studies, but they're all underway. They're all running pretty much on time. And so, while there's work to be done to finish them, it is not something that is a sort of contingent thing. I mean, it is work that has to be done just to move these projects forward, which we're doing day by day, week by week, in great partnership with one another.
But you can understand the skepticism.
Well, but yeah, I mean, look, nothing would surprise me in this world where there seem to be groups of people who are determined not to build transit. I mean, there seem to be actually people who are determined not to build transit. But I won't speak on behalf of my two confreres in the governments, and I mean both the leaders and the ministers. We're all determined to build transit. I can certainly speak for myself. And that means we're pushing ahead with all of this work. We've made some tough decisions where they had to be made. I mean, if SmartTrack wasn't a reality, why did I have to go and get the money for it? Why did I have to have extensive discussions with Mr. Del Duca and Mr. McQuaig and others about where we would get stations? And it was quite a long discussion, and we didn't get absolutely everything that we might have wanted, but we sure got a lot for the people of Toronto. This is a very real project. Regional Express Rail is very real. Construction is underway. And on all of these other projects, the work is being done. These are not just things where we make an announcement and then go back to the office and hope that you don't notice that nothing's happening. There's a ton happening. and it's these projects are going to come to fruition because we're all determined to make sure that's the case.
On the question of money, just one last question. The plan has changed since the election. At what point do we know a price tag for SmartTrack? It's obviously going to be less than $8 million. Do we know what it is?
The work is being done until further notice. The price stays at what it was, and we've obviously got